You are now entering Maximum Driftcast, the only drifting podcast hosted by a Spanish soccer mom, a 30-year-old silver-haired fox going on 60, and finally, a 200-pound bowl of spaghetti with chimichanga arms.
The champions, we are the champions.
Welcome back to another episode of Maximum Driftcast. We're so sorry for being sick last week, but all three of us, I think, were literally dying. And we're here back, or at least Paco and I am, because Corey is still sick and dying. And Paco, what are you doing, dude? We're trying to do a show.
Oh, sorry, I'm playing with myself, Sam.
Yeah, well, I can see that, Paco. And for those watching the video portion, you can see Paco playing with himself. What?
This is not what you guys think. I'm playing with myself as games called Thumb Drift.
Okay, yeah, we've seen on the internet that you apparently have your vehicle in a game now, right?
Yeah, I mean it's called the Maximum Driftcast Tofu Drift Van.
Ooh.
And it's available for everybody to play, but you have to earn it. You have to earn the Tofu Drift Van.
But you want to let people get this van of yours and crash it into the wall like you do?
Yeah. So if you guys want to play with it, make sure you make a little post.
If you want to play with Paco too.
Yeah, if you want to play with me, be like me and play with yourself or play with myself.
It'd be playing with you, Paco.
Yeah. Just make a little post, tag me or tag the show, tag us, tag everybody, tag your mom.
Yep.
And I'll send you the code so you can have the Tofu Van on Thumb Drift.
Thumb Drift?
How do you say that? Thumb?
Thumb. You don't know how to make a TH sound, Paco? Jesus.
Thumb Drift.
Thumba.
Yep. Thumb Drift. That's what it is. That's the hottest game out there. That's the hottest thing it is.
I don't have time for your little games, Paco.
What were you talking about?
I was saying that pay attention. All right, so we're back with another show. Unfortunately, this is our first one since Long Beach, and so there's so much to talk about, but we're all sick last week. I was still away working, but we are here today to finally break down all of Long Beach. But first, let's talk about our experience at Long Beach. So we were all there. Yeah. I think, right?
The three of us were there.
Yep.
We had a little halftime show.
Yeah,
thing.
so we were on the live stream. We did a halftime show that was it didn't go exactly as planned. We had some technical difficulties, but I think we pulled through. We're supposed to have in-ear monitors. So first of all, let's back up. The live stream dudes approached us, and they asked if we wanted to do a show, and they put in a ton of time and energy and effort into it. And then, as all good things sometimes have technical difficulties, we're supposed to have audio cues in our ears for when to talk about discussions, but all the in-ear monitoring just died seconds before the show started.
Apparently, that's how real television is done.
Yeah.
And obviously, we don't know anything about that. But fortunately, we had a TV monitor.
Yeah, so we were just trying to keep up with what was on the TV screen. But all things considered, we didn't say bukkake.
We didn't make any gay jokes. And
I didn't tell Paco that I was going to build a wall around him. I mean, that's...
I think that was the hardest part, not curse.
Yeah, right.
Trying not to.
And unfortunately, because there was no in-ear monitor, I didn't know that I was blasting crotch to the whole audience the whole time. So due to camera placement and no one telling me to close my legs, you just get a full dinger shot the whole show.
I heard people calling it the drifted crotch cam.
Yep, people loved it, I guess.
Yeah.
But so that was a little experiment. We may be back in some form at some events. We don't know, but that was an awesome time. We want to thank FD dudes for believing in us and letting us do that.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job. Like they made like little voiceover introduction.
Yeah,
they had like visuals and graphics. And
I think it was just maybe too complicated, and maybe if we wanted to do it again in the future, we just do this essentially, where we just talk about what we just saw without the high end stuff in the background, because that is a cool thing, but maybe we just aren't ready for that level of professionalism. Because let's be honest, we are barely amateur professionals.
I mean, at least at this, you're already very professional at what you do.
Oh, thanks, man.
And you're always, I mean, that's one of the other things. Like, you're always busy doing that. For people who don't know, this is not our main gig.
Yeah.
So
Paco's a male stripper when he's not here, and he's always on the pole.
Yep. I managed to clench hard enough, so I don't use my arms or legs.
It's a crazy move. You can actually clench the pole with your butt cheeks, and you can stay. Then you spin around the pole, and you actually go up, which is strange. You climb with your cheeks. It's really something to see.
It's an acquired technique I learned in China.
Yeah, if you want to catch Paco, he's at an all-male review called Butts with Paco. And
I'm glad you know so much about my gig.
Yeah, man. So.
Nice.
Before we get into FD stuff, what have you been doing since then, man? It's been a while. Been a while.
Man, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been
after
2
coming
weeks.
back from it's been 2 weeks. So we came back from Long Beach. We obviously we were like urging to make a show like right fresh of that round, but you and Corey were pretty sick. And I wasn't that sick, but at the same time, I'm not good enough to just do a show by myself.
Oh man, I disagree. I want to see that solo bolo. Someday there will be the solo bolo Paco show.
It'll be
It'll be awesome.
Cringe fest.
All in Spanish.
Yeah, we might do that. But instead of that, oh my God, sorry, I just started with that coughing again. Just insane amount of work. 2F has been keeping us incredibly busy. A lot of drivers ask us for replacement parts after Long Beach.
Yeah, it seems like a bunch of bumpers were claimed to the drift gods at Long Beach. That Byron
bumpers and panels. And
that Byron guy was just knocking people out.
Yeah, I think we should sponsor Byron.
You should sponsor Byron. He ends up 5 times in top 32, which is strange, but he's obviously got visibility.
Statistically, he's the highest possible driver to win the season.
Yeah, Byron.
By statistics.
Oh man, I can't wait to see him in the finals at Irwindale.
We should have him on the show.
Yeah, we should.
Actually, right now we have Byron himself.
Yeah, Byron himself is sitting right between
us.
And he's a really good looker.
How about you, Sam?
Oh, brothers.
Talk about being busy.
All right, so right after Long Beach, went over to Forsberg's house for a few more days and wrapped up almost everything. 99.9% of Drift Garage is done. Went over to Willow Springs, which I've never driven on before, and I actually drove my drift car, man.
You really actually drove it?
Yep, it was pretty crazy.
Wow.
I did some donuts around Turk and Forsberg, which they're pretty trusting to let me do that because they've never seen me drive. I've never driven this car that now has 200 more horsepower, and I was on rotted out, like hard as plastic tires. It felt like doing trays in a Wendy's parking lot. And I'm
Nice.
like, it didn't really cross my mind while I'm spinning around these guys that like I could possibly murder or handicap 2 of my favorite drivers. But afterwards, I was like, oh,
they trust
really
you.
didn't mess that up, thankfully.
They trust you enough to build your car.
And then so I did like a couple second and third gear, just like skid pad screwing off a little bit. Still for the show. We only had about 10 minutes to film. And then I'm like, hey, Turk, do you want to get in the car and do some laps? And he's like, fuck yeah, I do. And he rips off the side skirt going up the hill at Streets. And then, unfortunately, we got a massive boost leak. And Forsberg gets in the car to try to drive it, and it's just like 100 horsepower. So we just need to spend a couple more hours on it, and then it's going to be good to go. The wheels still haven't come yet, unfortunately, but we're going to get those on, and it's going to look dope. People will stop making fun of my side skirts, my 2F side skirts for sticking out too far, hopefully, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, those little updates you've been teasing with, they definitely the car already looks pretty cool.
Carbon fiber hood.
I was saying like that, just getting rid of that ugly. What was that, Rhino liner?
I don't even know. Yeah, some sort of bed liner.
Rhino liner or something on the hood.
The car looks and sounds freaking insane. Like
Nice.
I don't know what's gonna be like to drift with 400 horsepower. I cannot wait though to actually get that thing on the road. Still at Forsberg's house. He's got a ton of free time this week, and he's just gonna be working on it all week. That's a lie. Yeah. So then after that though, we did I came home for like 20 hours and then went back out there with our buddy.
What's the point of coming for just like not even a day?
Laundry and petting the cats.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Sometimes I kiss my girlfriend. Sometimes. But then I went back and with our good buddy Dylan Hughes, who is going to be running Pro 2 a couple rounds this year.
Guy.
Yeah, he's a little ripper. Built a truck with him and Forsberg for a Valvoline show, which I kind of want a truck now. I think it's time to sell the STI maybe.
It's time to move on.
Yeah, well, you can't just have like a halfway broken. It's not like broken down. It's a great car, but it can't have a slammed street car and then a drift car and nothing else. Because like you need to have some way to tow around the drift car, and it's hilarious driving to and from California with my back seat out of my car, full of camera cases and shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say because after all, that's your vehicle for transportation of all your equipment.
Right, it's not the best.
And I just remember during Long Beach, I gave you a little hand just to go from the truck uphill to your room.
Yeah.
and we barely could fit all that stuff in the Aztec.
Yeah.
I can't believe, like, how can you fit all that? Do you still carry a bike with you?
No, I didn't this time. I didn't have any room for the bike. I didn't
Yeah.
leave my subwoofer in there so I could pump up my jams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you definitely need a bigger vehicle.
And then
Leave on the comments. What vehicle should Sam get?
so the logical thing would be I really want like a brand new 4Runner TRD Pro because those are sweet. But also for about the same amount of money, I can get like a 2005 Mercedes G-Wagon. So
with 22-inch wheels.
yeah, 100,000 miles on it, 22-inch wheels.
Make it white so you look
That's
like
what I want.
it's a Hollywood gold digger.
Yep.
On your G-Wagon.
I just want a G-Wagon, man. And
don't get me wrong. I think they're sweet.
I was gonna say you might think it's sweet because they're weird, quirky cars, but I heard that they kick ass.
They're badass.
I need something with storage space and a big motor that could tow and maybe do a little off-roading.
I think
things.
some of those come even with a V10 or something like that.
No, I think it's just a supercharged
V8 with a AMG.
But it's got to be hyper expensive to maintain, and
it's still a Mercedes. Things break on those things, and it breaks.
Yeah,
it breaks your wallet.
Window regulator breaks, and it's gonna be $3,000. But then, yeah, I'm heading the road again tomorrow for.
Oh my God!
I'm going to Penske. Again,
oh, okay.
Doing some cool stuff there, and then pretty much just right after that, we got Orlando, which I'm super pumped about. And
is that true?
Yeah, I'm pumped about it. Are
I
you
just
pumped
say
about Orlando?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been to Orlando yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No.
Are you going?
Well, I don't know.
Oh.
First, we thought we might be able to go if we did the halftime show again. Probably it's not going to happen at Orlando.
Well, it's at least a month earlier because last year was unbearably hot and I actually got heat stroke for the first time. Living in Arizona, somehow avoided heat stroke all my life, and then I got it there because it's like 100 degrees with 99% humidity and awful. But I think this is going to be hopefully the last time we're at Orlando, but we shall see.
Well, I heard it's very humid.
I just said that. Are you playing Thumb Drift again?
I'm not. I'm not playing with myself.
Well, I guess we should at some point here start talking about Long Beach and the battles, top 32, right?
We should be able to do that. I mean, let's. I didn't have a chance to watch a lot of the races because we were pretty busy setting up.
Yeah, I actually didn't see any of them. So, do you just want to? I guess Forsberg won, right? Because Nos.
Yeah,
title sponsor Nos. I saw the notes.
Christopher Forsberg gets the win.
I saw Ryan Sage's notes for the season.
Gets the win.
And I believe James Dean didn't qualify.
Nah, who's that?
James. He's
wasn't he like an actor?
No, it's a sausage. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It is a sausage company / male porn star. And yeah, he didn't qualify. And that guy Byron was really, really close to winning the whole event. I really don't recall, though. I mean, I really wish...
I think Byron finished second.
I wish that there was some sort of expert on drifting who could tell us what went down.
Who's got like real criticism. How you call that? Objective criticism.
Well, hello?
What's up, everybody?
Oh, hey... I don't know who this is, but we were really hoping that someone could tell us what happened at Long Beach because we don't really remember.
I might be able to let you know what happened.
Oh, thank Drift Gods. Who first of all, who is this, and what gives you the right to tell us what happened at Long Beach?
Sure. So it's Joey Redmond.
Jojo Redmond
of Wreck Magazine.
Oh.
And I run some events called Street Driven Tour.
Ugh, never heard of him. That's Grid Life, right?
Pretty much the same thing, yeah.
Pretty much the same, or
that's Hyperfest. No, Hyperfest the ones you run, right?
No.
Right. Yeah. It's like Grid Life without lame music.
Oh, shots fired.
Obviously, as you might know, we have all the facts right all the time.
Right.
And that includes our knowledge about events and...
Pretty much everything.
Yeah,
we know it all.
So,
but you've run, we've talked on the show before, you've run Wreck Magazine into the ground, I mean, over 10 years now. And I'm being a dickhead today. Sorry, Joe. But you
it hasn't quite been 10 years, but we're close.
Yeah, but you are, I would say, arguably the most informed person in drifting. And boy, do we have a crazy year to begin, or crazy what was
first round, yeah,
crazy first round here. Overall opinion, first round, hit me.
I think it was a really good event. I think the only way it could have been better is if there were a couple less buy runs, but I think overall you had everything. You had all the elements. You had some of the really good guys not do well, which always kind of adds to the mix.
Yeah.
You had James Dean obviously showed up, performed really well. Some of the other new Europeans I think did really well. And honestly, like other than Forrest Wang, I didn't really feel like I missed some of the guys that are no longer in the series. So I think that was probably a good sign as well.
Yeah.
That's very interesting because maybe a lot of people don't realize that Mad Mike was gone.
Yeah.
Tyler McCory is gone. Conrad, I mean, he was gone since last year, but still, like it's like that presence, that American.
Kenny Moen did a couple of rounds last year, right?
Yep, and he's
then
gone.
he's
I mean, if you Jeff Stoneback, he's a top 20 driver that didn't come back.
Yep.
To Pat Mordaunt, I think finished like 21st. He didn't come back.
Oh, shit,
either.
I didn't even-
There's definitely
Wow.
quite a few guys in that mix that didn't make it back.
Huh. What's your opinion on that? Do you think is FD too hard? Are they being babies? Are they making babies? Like, why do you think these guys aren't here?
I think the series just requires a different level of commitment and finances now than it did a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's just, whether for good or bad, I think it's the progression of Formula D or just any motorsport, right? Like if you look at the overall timeline, like things just get more expensive, more competitive, more on like an engineering level. And I think you just see the guys that don't quite have the guys that aren't able to draw the large sponsorships, able to stay around or don't want to waste their time, trying to get to that level. I think it's good for the sport in a way. I think the concerning issue that Formula D has to recognize, I mentioned this in my top 10, is that I think the gap between Pro-Am, Pro 2, and Pro are just growing all the time. So I think it's going to be harder and harder for a guy like the future Corey Hosford of the world to go show up at Pro-Am, get into Pro 2, and then like advance into Pro. Like it's just not – each one I don't think is preparing you for the next level.
Right. So how do you bridge that gap between Pro 2 and Pro 1, do you think?
I don't know. If I had those answers, I'd probably try it myself or offer that advice to Ryan and Jim. I think it's just something that I think they need to address. Like the Pro 2 guys, I think one interesting idea I can throw out here is I would really like at the Pro 2 rounds, I think you let the Pro 2 guys run their podium, and then like let's say there's 30 positions in Pro 1 for that weekend, like in Orlando per se. You let the guys who finished first and second have the option to field fill 31st and 32nd place, just so they can get a taste of Pro on that same weekend if they've like driven their way into it and earned it. I think might be interesting. A guy could just happen to win and kind of get through the field a little bit.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Well, I've heard it was kind of like I was just like listening a conversation that wasn't my conversation, but I heard some of the Pro 2 drivers talking about that they approached either Jim Law or Ryan Sage when they find out there was only like 30 drivers for the Pro 1 bracket, and they say like, oh man, like we would love to just fill those two positions up, and they say like, oh, I mean, why don't you petition? We might have let you guys, like some of the guys who barely made it but still didn't make enough to move up. Because I think 6 drivers from Pro 2 last year got their Pro license and only 2 came.
Really?
Nate and Raddan.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of like, I mean, I can totally see them. Like some of the guys who didn't make it still would have been, like you say, like give them a chance to experience Pro.
Yeah. But there's only, of course, 4 rounds you can do that at. So it doesn't always work unless we have Pro 2 at every round. But yeah.
Right. I mean, I think it's just at least, I don't know, just something to mix it up a little bit. Because
I like it.
I just look at it, even if you just look at it from a fan perspective, if you're a fan of Von Gittin Jr., you drive to Long Beach, all you want to see is Von Gittin Jr., I mean, you're pretty much cheated out of a fifth of the show.
Yeah.
Like, just right off the bat, it's like watching him run by himself. It's like, okay, like, whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
And so it's great for those drivers that they can qualify and jump into top 16, but it does stink from, like, the fan perspective of seeing your, better driver doing less tandem.
I'm curious to see if Orlando is going to have as many Byrons out there, or if it's going to be a more full field this time. I'm brain farting right now. Isn't someone new showing up as well?
Yeah. The Italian guy.
Italian Stallion.
Italian Stallion. He's actually bringing an Italian Stallion.
Right. Yeah. Did you break that news, Joey, on Wrecked? That
I did. I think so. I don't know. I'll probably butcher his name, but it's Federico Scarifo.
Scarifo.
It's
Federico Scarifo.
Yeah.
Scarifo.
Yes, Scarifo. Who knows?
And
Our Italian's not that great.
And he's going to have a Ferrari drift car.
Yeah, from what I understand, I haven't actually spoken to him. I got some tips from some people working with his team. From what I understand, that is actually the Ferrari 599 that Daigo built.
See, I heard the opposite.
I've been hearing the opposite too.
Yeah.
But I'm 99% sure that is the Ferrari Daigo built. And if you actually go look at his team drift page, the FFF drifting, and you go look at the first image of when he got that car delivered, it looks identical to the car Daigo built.
Maybe it is.
Like I said, I haven't spoken to him directly, but I spoke to some people close to the team, and it sounds like that is the car. Like Daigo was building that for some other drift program. It fell apart, and then he kind of swooped in and picked up the car, like not in a complete form. It just
makes sense that
it to FD Orlando.
It just makes sense that the Italian driver is bringing an Italian car, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean,
it's gonna be like Talladega Nights.
Yeah, I'm curious to see.
Sarifo's gonna be like what's Borat?
Yeah,
his character.
I'm curious to see, one, if that car's gonna perform, and two, if he. Do you know anything about his history? Is he a good driver?
I've seen him. He actually drove in D1 for a while in the Team Orange Subaru WRX.
Oh yeah.
He's a Falcon driver.
I actually, if you go on Rex, I posted to him in a tandem battle with Daigo. He looked okay.
Yeah.
I don't think the Ferrari is going to help him perform by any means. I don't think Orlando's a smart event for him to debut at either. I think he should wait till Road Atlanta. But
yeah, I was going to say Atlanta's a little safer with no walls.
Well, I just look at I don't know if you remember last year, Sergi. His last name kind of evades me, but the Russian guy with the C6 Corvette, like the carbon body panel and all that.
HGK dude.
Yeah, the HGK Corvette. He crashed in Orlando and never came back.
Oh yeah,
he had a bad hit in Orlando and just gave up on Formula D. So I would hate to see this guy kind of make that same path. I obviously want to see this Ferrari run all year.
Yeah.
In the years of the future.
All right. Well, before we get too in the weeds, going ahead of time, let's talk about some more of Long Beach. So I'm kind of looking at your 10 points here. So Joey always does these wonderful 10 things I learned about each round after the round. And that
was excellent journalism, by the way.
Yeah,
I
excellent.
think that was one of those times where 10 out of and I'm not trying to suck up on you, but I agree. Suck up on you.
Yep.
Thank you. But I think 10 out of 10, I agree on every single thing that you were talking about. It was like, yep.
So first, we one of the earlier battles, and also very cool to see Matt Kaufman is showing up and not crashing on his first top 32 run.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Kaufman was one of those guys who I always think had the talent.
Right.
I think he lacked the mental ability to perform in tandem consistently. There'd be those times where he'd do really great, and then all of a sudden he would spin out or hit somebody, or it was kind of a matter of not if, but when he would mess up.
Well, it's classic young driver symptoms, I believe. It's just he has the aggressiveness and he has the skill level to beat anyone out there, but it's just a matter of getting the head game straight, which we've seen in lots of drivers before, I think.
Yeah, he just looked really mature. Like, I was just, nobody was talking about him, obviously, with the James Dean hype train and everything that was going on. But, I mean, he's sitting in 6th place. I mean, granted, it's after one round, but...
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
He just looked really confident. He looked committed. And this is Long Beach. It's not an easy track to do either of those things. So I think if he can keep up that momentum, he's got a top 5 season finish, I think, in the bag.
Now, fresh memory, if you can, he went up against Dan Burkett, who is not new. Is he new to Formula Drift, or he was just gone for a few years as well?
I think that was his first ever pro battle.
Right, so his first ever pro one. And his awesome-looking Supra. That is one of the most meticulously finished cars.
As a rookie. He came from Pro 2 with his Supra.
Right. And have you seen that car up close?
Sorry, what was that?
Have you seen that Supra up close, like the build quality of it?
I have. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I got a chance. I've been to his shop once. He actually came and gave ride-alongs in Street Driven Vegas, and that car is unreal. I mean, he's pretty much a fabricator by trade, from what I understand.
I'm trying to remember what happened in that battle. He went into the tires a little bit. Was that completely his own fault, or did Kaufman have some part in that?
I think it was. Long Beach is an intimidating place to show up and drive.
Right.
I think he did media day. He was looking okay, but once again, I think Rad Dan looks like Matt Kaufman as a rookie. Like, I think you could just see. I think Rad Dan has some talent as well, but I think it was that same parallel of, like, Brad Dan was driving like how Matt Kaufman was a couple years ago.
Right. It's an interesting way to speak of it. You've talked to the guy, I imagine. He's one of the most, like, soft-spoken. I think his heart beats probably like 6 times a minute. He's like one of the most chill dudes I've ever met in my life.
Kaufman?
No,
Dan. Yeah. Sorry. Hello.
Yeah, he's definitely got like a California like surfer vibe or something going on.
Yeah, he's actually. I mean, he has like this image of being like this kind of like crazy dude, but he's actually pretty mellow. And we had a little chance to chat with him a while ago. He seems very determined.
Yeah.
On beating the competition. Like, he's 100% serious. Like, pretty much what he said is that his life is Formula Drift. So I just think it's just a matter of time.
And he's one of those dudes that doesn't have a huge door sponsor. He is just kind of out there, I think, out of his own pocket for the most part. So it's fun seeing a dude like that in Pro 1 that is driven and motivated, that has built his entire car essentially.
Yeah, I think he has some interesting advantages. He worked on like Mad Mike's car a lot last year.
Yep.
I know, he's at least got, like, I know Forsberg's been operating some stuff out of his shop. So I think even though he doesn't necessarily have the big dollars, it seems like he's definitely got, like, some good context, right? And some, working on Mad Mike's car, I'm sure he kind of learned some things with, like, suspension and issues like that. So he's at least been around the program where I think he can kind of pull some, like, useful information that some of these other younger drivers might not have easy access to.
Where do you place him at the end of 2017?
Oof. I think he should be happy if he finishes in the top 20.
Yeah, I think any Pro 2 guy should be in the first year.
Yeah.
So you also, number 9, Matt Field.
Yeah, Matt Fields was obviously...
I think we were all pumped.
He was coming off of a heater, the last 2 rounds won. Car mostly unchanged, except for a huge sponsor on it now. But he was having... I spoke to him on the grid. I forget what issue he was having. But, the car was... Do you remember what was wrong with that?
I think he said on the... I didn't talk to him, but I think on the live stream he was saying they were having, like, lifter issues in the motor. Does that sound right?
Yeah. I don't recall.
I might have just made that up.
Yeah, well, either way, his car wasn't working, unfortunately, and it kind of fizzled out after this big previous 2 finishes. What do you think that is? Is that foreboding, or is this just a hiccup?
I don't know. That's tough. It's like you have so much momentum, and then to not really change anything and come back with issues, I think is a tough one.
That's why we were predicting him to win the event, even because he's one of the few guys that has a mostly unchanged car, whereas all these other big dogs are coming in with brand new cars and builds and motors.
Yeah, and there might be something to consider with Matt never having like a real big time sponsor and things like that.
Right.
He might have be adjusting to having so many more people to answer to, right? More things to do.
And that was one of the big questions we had.
Autographs, photo shoots, and all these things that when he was kind of his own program, he didn't have to worry about. But, maybe he needs to bring in some extra crew guys or something like that he can't necessarily be as hands-on as he's been before. Like, that might be a solution for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you saw Formula Drift, Super Drift on Friday, he came up victorious, and against Alex Hilbrand.
Didn't he win that last year too? Who won last year? I know Forrest won 2 years ago, maybe. But
wasn't it Wicknick?
Did Wicknick win?
I can't remember.
I can't remember.
But
I think Osbo won last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Osbo was handling that. Well, but that was on Saturday. My bad. See, that was. I'm confused. So, is it the first time that there's a Super Drift on Friday and then Super Drift on Saturday?
I don't think there's been 2 before.
Yeah, they used to do qualifying and then tandem, but I also think you should hesitate to really take any weight in anything that happens at Super Drift. I think is being relevant to like the Formula Drift championship series. I mean, there were guys that aren't even the series running. There were guys who were like 2 drivers running. I mean, it was not exactly. Super Drift is really just like kind of a.
It's an exhibition event.
A money grab Grand Prix.
Well, I was thinking more about of the car's performance. Like if there was some kind of
the car worked at least
issues on the weekend before. It seems like the car was doing fine on Super Drift. Gosh, I don't even know which one's. Okay.
Yeah, once again, it's like it's not exactly a high pressure event.
Yeah.
He could have his boost turned down. It's pretty informal.
Okay.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a lot of practice in those kind of conditions, so hopefully.
Yeah, I wonder how much different that track is at night when it's a lot cooler.
Yeah, it is. It's probably a lot less hard on the car, I would imagine, because they can probably dial some of the grip out.
The concrete walls get a little bit more mushy at night as well.
All right.
A little softer.
So we're gonna move into Alex Hilbrand, who I thought maybe last year was going to beat everyone's ass as he did in Pro 2 previously, but as we were just bringing up the Pro 2 dudes that are doing okay their first year, but now absolutely ripping the second year. So Alex Hilbrand got second in FD, second at day one just day one, one of the days of Super Drift, and maybe third the other time. He podiumed all 3 of them, right?
I think he had second on both.
Yeah, so he's just number 2. He's a big number 2 guy, but that's
Forrest,
crazy that
Forrest won the Saturday event,
But that's his level of consistency there over this course of a weekend is running 3 events at Long Beach and podiuming, I believe all 3 is nuts. So what do you think? You think that this is going to be his year, maybe?
I don't know if he can go the whole way. I mean, second place, 3 events in a row is great. I mean, the one caveat being obviously that all of those events are at the same track.
Right.
So, obviously there's different skills that are involved for the year. He actually looked really good in Orlando last year. And he had that whole weird tandem battle with Von Gittin Jr.
Oh, yeah, I don't even remember what the controversy there was.
Yeah. So, I think he can be top 5. I don't feel like at this stage he can make a run for the championship, but he's more than welcome to prove me wrong.
Right. We will always be proven wrong by facts, and even though this is we're skipping a bunch in the middle, but so James Dean came in and won, and I didn't think he was going to, and even of course one of our very helpful people in the comment section said "Oh, Sam, why you fucking hated on the foreigners, dude, so much, and you said James Dean was no good, take that sort of deal." It's I never said that he wasn't gonna perform. I just didn't think he wasn't gonna perform like that. Did you foresee that outcome?
I could see him doing really well here. I also don't think he did as good as everyone likes to remember the event.
Right. So without being too controversial, or too controversial, but he looked like his form of follow was very entertaining to watch. But in my opinion, it was tight and then falling back and tight and falling back, and he's doing like these twitchy
the slingshot.
Yeah, he's doing these like twitchy like Daigo. It's very Daigo-ish, as many people have said.
Very Daigo-ish,
and it's very entertaining to watch. But it is not considered as skillful as someone who's just on the other door at a consistent 6 inches the whole time. And granted, I don't know. What do you think about it?
I think my issue is everyone's acting like he literally just came in and dominated the event, and no one stood a chance, and basically no one should have bothered showing up because James Dean had arrived. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people that are saying that have that narrative written in their head before the event happened.
Yeah,
he did do well, but I also think, I go back to that Forsberg run that's brought up a lot of controversy, and he clearly smacked Forsberg twice on the entry.
Yeah, so it's so funny that... Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, Forsberg could have spun right then.
Yeah.
Battle over. Forsberg tried to fight his way through the track. He couldn't figure it out. He posted his in-car because I guess all these people were accusing him of being a dirty driver.
Yeah, so to talk about that for a second, because Formula Derp has calmed down, I think, a lot since the Forsberg-Wangate last year, where like there was violence inside and all that shit. But still then post this video this year of saying that Chris sandbag or something like that. And then
you can hear him like hitting the rev limiter, which makes it look like he's sandbagging.
And then Chris posts this in-car video that thankfully our buddies at BC shot, and you can actually see his shifter popping out of gear and shoving it back in. So it's car malfunction. But also what's interesting in this video, though, too, where Chris is just showing, like, hey, I'm not an asshole, you also see at the very beginning on the initiation, Dean hits him, and Chris loses steering entirely and has to catch it back and, like, throw the car back in. And Chris just kept on going, of course, but he was then off the entire run because he lost however many miles per hour or lost whatever line because of that. And if he would have just let it happen and spun or hit the wall or whatever, he would have moved on and Dean would have ended. But instead of doing the dickhead move and just winning that way, he decided to keep going on the run. And I think that most people didn't see that either from the angle of the live stream. I didn't even know what happened.
If I'm not mistaken, even James Dean got out of his car and went to apologize.
Yeah, so it was confirmed that it did happen. The judges did not see that, or maybe they did see it and they didn't weigh it, or maybe they did weigh it and it just still came out Dean on top. But it's pretty nuts.
I think the camera angle couldn't really tell that whole story.
Yeah, but now that we've seen Forsberg's in-car, you can see that he completely lost steering, which is pretty nuts. I highly recommend you check that out. And also, then so on the topic of just the drift haters, is that I think that it is getting better, and it is better than it's been in the past year with all the hate shit last year. But what pisses me off still about the derp stuff, though, is that he still didn't take down the original post calling Forsberg a piece of shit, which is.
He did apologize.
Yeah, he did another post saying like I was mistaken. You proved me wrong, haha. But he still fucking lit a torch and held his goddamn pitchfork up for a minute and made people hate on a driver that is just out there doing their best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just stopped following the account. I check on it when some people tell me stuff, but it's just, I don't know. There's a level of like doing stuff in good fun, and there's just that point where it's just like, I feel like he just kind of fuels a lot of the idiots' fire, and then they come on the wrecked comments acting like they're drift experts. They read his Instagram page, and it's like, some of it is really funny though, like the whole Conor McGregor thing. I posted that, and I saw that. I thought that was funny. So some of it's great. I think his analysis in his armchair analysis is probably a little lacking, but if you stick to the memes, he'd probably be okay.
Well, yeah, and that's when we had a talk with whoever it is last year, running that thing, and they were like, oh, why do you hate us, or why does Sam hate us, or why does whatever? It's like I don't hate you, man. It's just I don't like, let's do some wholesome memes, but raising the kids with their pitchforks and torches against someone that is undeserving, or at least before something is proven, is a shitty way to go about things. But I guess we'll see how the year unfolds. So
yeah, definitely.
All right, so Dean obviously swept. Do you think he's going to keep sweeping? I hear drivers saying that, and to be honest, I think that maybe they're underplaying, like they're a little bit in shock maybe. But I hear them saying that like, oh, Long Beach was a course that's similar to what he's used to driving. He's not used to driving long sweeping banks like say Orlando has, or like Wall has, or even Atlanta to some degree. Do you think that he is going to not perform as well in these new other tracks?
I think he has a lot of things working against him. Personally, I don't find Orlando to be a difficult track. It's 2 turns. I mean,
right.
If you look at it on the map, it's literally 2 turns. Orlando's not a very challenging track. However, something to consider in like Drift All-Stars, they handle it's very much like a show up and drive program for some of those drivers. Like Drift All-Stars picks their cars up, takes them to the next event. Those guys show up and drive type situation. So here in America, he's dealing with travel and logistics. I know Bridges Racing is doing that for him, and I think they'll do a great job, but there's just a lot more headaches with that stuff, right? Like, you're talking about driving 3,000 miles across the country to an event, whereas if he was in Ireland, I think you could drive around the whole country 6 times in 3,000 miles. So, there's just a lot of those things to consider. Orlando's got a lot of humidity, just kind of like some of those out of the elements. I think, personally, I think James can probably be in that top 5 driver conversation. I don't feel like he's going to come in and be the guy
sweep the whole year
to win the championship, but he might. But I'll tell you this, there's definitely going to be some guys out there that are not going to let him do that willingly or easily. Yeah,
I'm curious to see if the momentum holds up, and I think he's fully capable of it now that I've seen him drive, and I know he has the talent and skill to do that, at least based off of what I saw at Long Beach. And I think regardless of outcome, he is a very much needed shakeup in the sport. I don't think it's anywhere near as crazy as when Daigo showed up with his 1,200 horsepower SC, but I think it's still not letting the old guard rest. Like, they can't just show up and expect to fight the same battles again. Like, we now have someone who is eager and young and skilled and has a bitchin' car and a bitchin' team, obviously.
Yeah, I think the number one takeaway you can make from James and even his teammate Paco arriving is that I think both of them are going to tandem very aggressively.
Yeah. Yep.
I think they both made that very clear. So I think the upside for the fans, regardless of how those two finish the season, is I think they're going to force the old guard, so to speak, the Osbo, Vaughn, Forsberg, even maybe like an Odie, to really have to, I guess, do more to earn a victory in tandem, which I think can only be better for the fans.
Which is, I think, it's a great segue to talk about
Peter.
How
do you say his name?
Peter
I just heard you say it
Vishek.
pretty much right? Peter.
Yeah, I think it's spelled really funky, but I think you just actually
Just
say
Peter.
it's almost like saying Peter.
Yeah.
Peter Vishek.
We got to speak to him for a second in the judges' booth. Super nice guy and very excited that
He looks like the actor who plays Quicksilver on one of the Marvel movies.
Nice.
And I kid you not, last year I saw him. He was hanging out on somebody's pit, and I thought he was the actor from the movie. I was like, oh, hey, I know that guy from that movie. And it turned it was Peter Vishek.
So where do you think he's going to be this season? Because we saw that he's a capable driver, but he unfortunately got knocked out fairly early. Hold on, I'm pulling up the stuff now.
I think he'll find himself in that 5 to 10 window in the championship,
which is incredible,
not
though.
bad.
Well, that's 5 to 10. If that's your predicted him, that's incredible for.
And I have my money on him on our predictions that we did during the.
Oh yeah, when we were doing our halftime show predictions.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be end up a little higher.
He's clearly, I think, going to be the rookie of the year this year.
Well, who else would be rookie of the year? Dan Burkett.
Yeah, Dan Burkett is in the running.
We still have to see how
the Russian
Sharifo. And
then the Russian
and Gocha.
Shishivan.
Yeah, it's
something like that.
We are really nailing all these names.
Formula Drift is making it harder for us. All these names.
I know.
I
Formula Drift needs more like Texans.
Yeah, Jones,
Bobby Josh.
Billy Joe. But yeah, we get a lot of message. I mean, to the Maximum Driftcast Instagram, we got a lot of messages from actual Russian guys like, "Oh, guys, you should keep an eye on our driver we're sending. Is very good, very like they were comparing him with Forrest, like very stylish. Apparently he's done some a lot of drifting in Japan.
But he
I actually kind of caught on that he was coming to Formula Drift late, and then I was getting all this hate mail from all these Russians why I hadn't talked about their national hero.
Yeah.
But I will say there seems to be a very large and strong drifting contingent, I think, in just the Eastern European and Russian side of the world. I mean, you look at like Estonia, Latvia, Russia. I mean, those are actually, if you step outside of North America, those are some of the biggest trafficked countries we get traffic from, even to Rec Magazine. And they've always been pretty verbal and active about their drivers. So I think if he does well, I think it'll be great for Formula Drift on definitely that international stage and level.
Do you know if he speaks English? Because I'd love to talk to him. I hope he does.
I don't, actually. I haven't gotten a chance to talk to him. My guess would be he's got to be relatively decent. I mean, I just shoot him a note and see.
Yeah.
I'm only assuming that, like, the girl that came over who was doing Pro-Am that Matt Field built her car, Kate, she was pretty good. And it seems like most people in that part of the country at least are decent with it. So I give him a shot. He'd be cool to be on the show for sure.
We'd love to hear from the Russian contingent. And then, so if you're buddies with them, if anyone in Russia hears this show, let's find him. And also, if you're in Ireland and you're friends with James Dean, you tell him to fucking respond to us. We've been trying to get on the show for weeks, but apparently we're not cool enough. So people, I bet that dude on Instagram that called me out is like, oh, they don't even like James Dean. They won't get him on the show. Oh, I want him. All right, we want to talk to you, man. Sorry, I had a rant there. So where do you? By
the way, the guy, Russian guy, Georgie.
Yeah,
just kind of like that's been.
Yeah.
I thought it was G or G, but I guess I was mistaken.
That's definitely gonna get him on the show.
Yep, there we go. So Peter went against. I'm just gonna call him Peter. He went against Chelsea, who we did not expect to see Chelsea out that early, I believe, or at least I didn't. But again, I'm biased. I can't be a proper journalist by being on his team. What do you think about Chelsea's runs?
I think there's just a learning curve with that car. I mean, those Mustangs are rocket ships.
Yeah.
With Mustang chassis frames on them. I mean, those cars even just coming off the line, like if you just even look at the pure drag race of like how quickly those cars come to speed, I think he's just going to have a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah. I feel like
I hope he's planning on running that car in like a multi-year program, because I think he's probably going to be in that same category for me, that 5 to 10 place. I think he'll probably win an event or two, or definitely podium, but I also think you're going to see one or two more stumbles where it's like the top 16 or the top 32, lost, just because I think he's got a lot to learn with that thing.
I think he's going to win Atlanta.
You do?
Yeah, it's a fast track.
Yeah.
It's kind of like his style of driving, I believe.
Yeah, I think if he stopped by from just my perspective, I believe he's driving that car like it's a 500 horsepower BMW, and I think he needs to maybe just turn it down a little bit and just realize that this car is very different, I imagine, than driving that car, which I'm sure he knows. But I think if he just dialed it back and dialed it in a little bit, he will be a major threat. But
also, imagine this, like this is your first round on your new team.
Yeah.
And these guys just handled you $150,000 Mustang.
I didn't hand it to him. Hold on.
I mean, like, hey, drive. We want you to drive this car.
Yeah.
But I think at a certain point you still have to be a little bit conservative.
Yeah.
Try not to destroy the car in the first round.
And Long Beach is a tough place for that. So I bet psychologically there was a bit there. But I'm just really bummed that we didn't see Vaughn versus Chelsea in top 8. Hopefully we see it throughout the year. What do you think is going to happen when Vaughn meets Chelsea?
I think Chelsea will hit him.
You think? Yeah, no, okay, that took me off guard. Do you think Chelsea's going to hit him?
But he's going to get a little bit of his own medicine.
Okay. So, man, I just really hope the chaotic person in me wants to see that, but I also hope that I don't have to see that, because I can only imagine packing my camera equipment up in the rig that day with 2 totaled Mustangs at wall or something.
I don't think he'll annihilate the cars, but Chelsea's definitely that guy when it's like, oh, it's time to be excited. It's time to make that happen.
Yeah.
He's gonna bump door. He's gonna be putting his passenger side wheel in Devon's door as they go around the turn.
But I'm sure that's what Vaughn wants. He picked Chelsea for a reason.
Yeah. Well, and it was fun hearing the team talk before the event. It's the team meeting. No, just before the event, team meeting, just saying we're gonna help each other as much as we can throughout the event, and let's share data and all that. But if we go up against each other, what it's gonna be. It's gonna be every man for themselves. And
brace yourselves.
We're gonna fight. It's gonna be rough. And then I'm curious to see if so the same team built the cars, same team maintains the cars. I'm very curious if there's little secret switches for the each other. All right, we're going up against our teammate. Let's bring this out a little bit further.
I think Vaughn is more of a bring it on kind of guy. He wants the situation to be as hard and difficult as possible. So
yeah, I just hope for the visuals of having the team go against each other, just video wise, that'll be fucking sweet.
Yeah.
But
let's hear Joey's. He said you're gonna. Yeah, no, my bad. Yeah.
Where are you, man?
I'm here.
No, it's getting to some weird stuff right now. Osbo.
Yeah, this WWE wrestler.
You usually, I think, stay pretty impartial on the battles, but it looks like you in at least your 10 things, you got a little bit heated with Osbo.
Yeah. Listen, I've watched that run a bunch, and I also think that Osbo's quietness in the whole situation is kind of telling. I think it's the admission of guilt. I'm just going to sit here, be quiet, and let this blow over.
Well, he seemed pretty bummed. I mean, actually, I don't think I ever seen when.
Well, first, let's bring up the incident. Though.
Okay, so
what occurred?
Asvo and Christoph's Blues. They go. I think obviously Asvo's leading. He does that thing that apparently everybody knows he does all the time.
They're saying he's doing what essentially people were blaming Forsberg for doing, which is kind of slowing down unnecessarily with the intent of messing up the person behind you. And
Christoph's hits him, but I mean I can't remember. They kept going, or
Christoph's hit him and spun.
Christoph stopped on track. Yeah, I think Christoph hit his wheel on the bash bar.
Yeah,
so he just lost steering. I will say this: I've watched them run a bunch. I would love to actually see Osbo's in car. Doubtful we'll ever get that. I will say it does look like when you watch it with some of Osbo's other runs, if you pull those up on the live stream, it seems like progressively Osbo was trying to shoot out wider and wider against that outer zone wall, and I think he kind of just there is. I will give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that I think he pushed kind of way out, and I think he was letting up to try and readjust the car and kind of get back into the. But he was kind of off the track to flick back over, right? He had gone kind of wide.
Well, the question is, did he admit that? Did he say that was what happened, or he just said that I'm driving and deal with it?
He said in his interview that he was just trying to take a really wide line, which I don't necessarily know why. I don't think that's going to do him any good. I mean, my only kind of read between the lines is he was trying to go really wide because he felt like Christoph would be aggressive and hit him. I don't know.
I think, I mean, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think he did that because this car seems very twitchy. So
I'm curious if you had full control.
Yeah, if you take a narrow line, it seems like the car kind of tries to just cut up and
Yeah.
So it seems
but on the other end, Kristaps is also one of the most crazy followers in the series. So it's you knew that Kristaps was going to be on his bumper, and I do actually like Osbo. I like watching him drive. I like talking to him, but he has told us and said multiple times that I will do whatever it takes to win. And we asked if he's a gentleman drifter or a dude that's the dude from Talladega Nights, the French guy.
Well,
he said he's more the French guy. He's
whatever it takes means it could also mean whatever it takes within the rules.
Right.
I'm not.
Well, but he's also openly said that he uses strategy to win tandem battles.
Right.
And I mean, I guess he's not openly admitting that he's doing things wrong, but like to me, strategy involves you not just driving 100% and trying to win. Like you're trying to trick up another driver, mess them up.
Yeah.
I think if you talk to most drivers that have battled him,
but that's
they're not going to have nice things to say.
So do you believe, though, that there is intention as he's going through that area of the track before the transition? Do you think there is an intention in his mind that say instead of saying I'm going to go 100% throttle, maybe it's just 90%. I'm going to go 90% this time, and I'm going to go a little bit slower. Do you think that there is that thing in his head that's saying I'm going to do this to screw someone up?
Look, I don't know if I want to be.
Yeah, I understand.
The one saying I don't know what's in his head. I think he is fully aware of what he's doing at all times. I think what turned me off the most about that whole situation is how he acted afterwards.
Yeah, so I have the quote.
I was very stunned by some of the things he said about Kristaps in the live stream after the fact.
I have the quote right here that you copied, and it's that this is
perfect.
Osbo saying Kristaps got mad at me, and it's tough, because I consider him a friend and all, and I was trying to do was run a really hard, wide line, and I felt that was one of our best runs this weekend. So I think he should in fact be mad at himself, which is a strange statement, I think.
Which I mean, and don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of interviews with him, and this is the first time he seemed kind of like startled. Startled? How do you say that?
Startled, I mean.
Yeah, okay, so he just seemed like he was definitely bummed about the fact that Kristaps got very pissed at him. So, I don't know. I mean, at the same time, I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt.
And Kristaps is a badass Latvian, and he's a 100% driver. I don't think Kristaps is one of those dudes that will always push 100%, I believe. And I know Kristaps was very upset because he feels that he got cheated. Yeah, he got cheated out of that. He feels like it was bullshit, as you have mentioned, and we've mentioned that people have accused Osbo of this sort of tactic before, and Daigo was accused of it previously, and it's just the idea that you're slowing down in a way that is not consistent with previous runs with the intent of making the follow driver screw up.
Yeah, to me, I think there's a lot of fault put on the judges there as well. I think that Kristaps should have been given the win. Just even for the fact that Osbo was so far off the line that you were supposed to be on, I think they should have taken that into consideration. I don't know. I haven't talked to the judges really, but I feel like for some reason that might be one they would want back or do again.
Yeah.
I think without the ominous of James Dean being the greatest drifter of all time, taking up social media all day, I think the judges definitely would have got more flack for the Osbo boss battle for sure.
So do you feel that the judges did a subpar job this round? Because there was a lot of these calls, it appears, that, between Forsberg and Dean and Osbo and Blues. I don't know what else there was, but do you think that they did, given all the resources they had, did they screw up? Did they need more resources? How is this better?
I think, well, it's a twofold problem. I think the judges need more resources. I think the cameras, especially at a track like Long Beach, are pretty poorly placed, and I also think the judges' stand is pretty poorly placed. I spotted last year for a little bit, and I can tell you can't see jack shit of turn 9.
Yeah.
You can see 10A, 10B, and you can't really see the hairpin. So I think there needs to be some, even if it's black view cameras now, because, we can't use GoPros, taped to the fence that are, showing the view. I don't think we need a whole production, but there definitely needs to be some, contact cones. Why was there not there used to be that crane in the hairpin, if you remember back in the day, where they could kind of go up and get down on the contact shots there.
Yeah.
So they had a fisheye camera.
What's that?
They had a fisheye camera right at the hairpin.
Yeah, but it's still more for showing the video rather than something that you can actually judge by. It's more for the show.
Right. Oh. And I also think they need to get a way to get some of this in-car footage in the driver's hands.
Yeah.
Or in the judge's hands. So, I don't know. I think Formula Drift it's just one of those growing pain stages. At some point, they're going to have to, make those investments. Yep. I think for what the judges were given, I think they did really well. I think with the Forsberg-Dean battle, I don't think you can fault the judges because the judges can't. This is the issue. Like, if Forsberg spins, then they can clearly say that contact makes fault.
Right.
Forsberg obviously made the decision to keep driving, even though he drove a bad line. But I think that's one of those situations where it's really hard to fault James then for, like, you don't know how well Chris's run would have been if he wasn't hit. So it's like, it's hard it's just hard to fill in those gaps. I think that's just one of those things where it's just like, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think if Dean was hitting every driver there, I think at some point you'd have to address the issue. I think he only really hit Chris.
Yeah.
If he then went later and like smacked Alex Hilbrun there, I think you'd have to take note and say, look, man, you can't just be hitting people on entry. But Chris kind of made the choice to do the right thing, I guess, so to speak, and keep running. So it's like you've got to just judge the battle in front of you to a point.
Which, yes, I guess that wasn't a bad call. But we've yelled at Sage and Lontaine and these dudes since we've started this show and before to get more cameras, get something to give you a benefit. And, of course, I say that the behind-the-scenes work to make all that work is, of course, a ton and costs money and is something that if you have it and it goes down, like then that is a major problem. But still, something must be done. I think I wish drone batteries lasted longer because if you just had an overhead bird's-eye view of every battle, that would be wonderful. But short of that, if you had in-car footage, that'd be wonderful. If you had in-car footage with telemetrics on it, that would be outstanding.
Well, what's crazy is I was watching some of the Polish drift.
Polish?
Yeah, it was Polish. I think what's it called? King of Europe? I think it was King of Europe.
I like that you said Polish, though. Can we take a minute and talk about Paco saying Polish drift?
Polish drift.
All right, go on, Paco.
Yeah, have your fun, Joey. Have your fun. I was interestingly, Jeff Harper from the live stream, former Drift live stream, he linked me to some of the videos from the King of Europe Drift, and they it's crazy. They do have aerial view, they have in-car view, they have like 6 cameras, but then he explained me why it's hard to do it on FD.
Yeah.
It turns out, I mean, like the entire production over here compared to over there, it pretty much like triples the money. Where over there they don't have like all these money going into TV, I guess.
Right.
Where it allows them to just invest in all this extra equipment.
Still doesn't matter in my mind. Though, like this is the most premier drifting league in the world, in my opinion. You can argue that, whatever, but they need to spend the money. They need to do something.
It should be able to be done. I mean, for some reason, when I was talking to Jeff, I was like, well, I mean, if this happens, that means more business for you. He totally agrees. It's not like he doesn't want to do it. So just so you guys know, it's not like the live stream people doesn't want to do it. They're totally down. It's just a matter of cost.
The question is if they're losing fans as a result of it, or if they're not getting new ones as a result of it, or if they just think that it doesn't matter if there are these weird calls and if only nerds like us care. I guess that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think they're losing fans. In my opinion, I guess the way I look at it is I think they owe it to these drivers who are spending $25,000, $30,000 in 48 hours, between travel, transport, tire,
and their entire
the investment
lives
that's going into it. And the fact that you only have one chance, it's like one run, and that run is basically the, difference between you looking like an asshole or making your sponsor super happy.
Yeah.
I just think that they're owed the ability to get the best call.
Yeah.
I think from a fan's perspective, I think most of them don't understand. I also think we could add 500 million cameras and there'd still be controversy. I mean, look at the NFL. The NFL has like 67 slow motion replays of every single play.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
And yet, I don't personally watch the NFL, but I hear my friends, I see them on Facebook being like, oh, that wasn't a catch, and this wasn't that. So there's always those elements of, I think no matter how much you have, people are always going to have their opinions, their tinfoil hat theories. Oh, you just don't like this guy because he has this sponsor, or he drives like this, or this guy's just winning because of that. I don't think you're going to eradicate that even if you had 100 million cameras on the track.
Yeah, you make a great point, man. Actually, one of the craziest thing, and now that you mention NFL, yeah, absolutely. There's shots where you can like clearly see the guy's knee is touching the ground before he, he's.
We talked about that with Jeff Harper when
and
he was
it's
on the
crazy.
show.
People still argue. It's like, well, no, but this.
Yeah.
It can't deal with that.
And the conclusion we came when Jeff was on the show, I believe, was that assholes are assholes, and there's always going to be those dudes that are just going to be dicks. You can't please them no matter what. But yeah,
it's up to you what you want to be, a dick or an asshole.
Yeah. I think there's an interesting psychological thing too, where people make up their mind when they see the event happen at the moment. Like, I think a lot of people see the battle happen, they decide who they think won, and that's the winner. And it doesn't necessarily matter what the facts are. Like when you break it down, like if you look at Forsberg and Forrest from last year in New Jersey. Everyone thought Forrest won right off the bat. Yeah. Even I definitely in that camp at first. I was like, oh man, Forsberg choked, Forsberg blew it.
Yep.
But once again, when I watch everything again, I try to approach things with an open mind. And then it's like you see, I think David Carey from Amdrift sent me a shot of like Forrest had no rim, like his like wheel had basically come off on the turn, and then
that is a shot that is essentially the proof that we have kind of had independently confirmed and unfortunately anonymously that we can't talk about, but it's like that's the shot that proved that there is broken suspension components, and this should be a non-issue if people just spoke up.
Yeah, and then Forsberg, you watch Forsberg's in-car, and it's like he literally is like smoke, Forrest door. Like there's nothing for him to do.
Yeah,
but I think so. I kind of changed my mind, obviously, through the process of information. But I think the people who made up their mind when they watched it, that's it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can show them anything you want. I think that's kind of how those plays work too, where it's like people see it and they're like, "Oh, that was a complete pass," and then they show it all and it wasn't, and they're like, "No, that was still a complete pass."
I think that's a common human trait, unfortunately, of people not being able to change their opinion with new information. Like in the political world, people are always like, oh, look at this flip-flopper. He thought one thing, now he thinks the other. It's like, well, if new information is presented, then I'm a dickhead if I don't change my view if new information is different from what I think.
You're wrong for changing your mind.
It's like, I mean, it's if new information is presented, I will always believe in it. If some old man in the sky comes down with his goddamn pitchfork, it's like, you're going to hell if you don't praise me right now. I'm like, all right, dude, I will do that. but until then, I'm gonna be chill. So we got going down your list. You've got then Forsberg got super lucky with his engine issues. So
okay. So that was crazy.
So I've been deep. So let me preface this whole conversation.
We might have here.
I'm bowing out because I've been with him for pretty much every day for the past 3 weeks working on various shows.
Oh my god!
And I forget what I'm allowed to even talk about. So you guys talk about it. I can talk a little bit maybe, but. What went down with that?
Well, from my understanding, Chris moved from the East Coast back to the West Coast. Pretty much was bringing the same car to Formula D, with the exception that he was going to throw a 1,000 horsepower twin turbo, twin anti-lag VQ setup in the car.
Yeah,
and it didn't work.
Which apparently it was just a water leak from I believe a head gasket.
Head gasket's were the issue, but we did talk to John Hoyunga of Nameless, who built Turk's successful car, and he did say on the show that it was going to work.
Yeah,
and it sounds like from no direct fault of any of that party, but unfortunately, when you do new motors that are crazy horsepower with crazy mods on them, that there are issues.
I believe this was more of a time constriction,
right? But the big question I always have is why now? Why did it happen days before Long Beach rather than months before Long Beach? Which is always the answer is that doesn't matter when you start. It always seems with almost every team, you plan your car. You start planning your new car maybe before Irwindale, like 2016, but there's still every team almost still seems to be working up until like Thursday night at Long Beach to make their car work right. But I guess that's just racing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I guess I've always looked at Forsberg as one of the more prepared teams and crews out there. He's always not the guy at Willow Springs on Tuesday, Wednesday night before Long Beach, praying that his car starts. So it kind of took me aback, and I mean, in the fact that they I mean, from what I understand, I don't even think I've actually talked to him about it, but, I mean, they had a first motor, had the head gasket issue, went to a second motor on the dyno, had the same issue, and then basically ended up having to pull the car Stoneback ran last year out of storage or who knows where, and then run that thing. So, you know, I mean, those issues are, I guess that was just my aspect of that story is he kind of got lucky that he had Stoneback's car there. Like, what if he had another teammate this year?
Yeah, I believe that there was contingencies, and he did tell me at one point. He did tell me at one point that he now lives like 20 minutes, 30 minutes from the track. He said if I don't have a car that works right there, I'm going to go grab my twin turbo demo car that is FD legal, I believe, and drive this, like, not full interior by any means, but it's like this is not an FD prepped car. But he's not going to miss an event. But unfortunately, he did say that this is the first media day that he's missed in the history of media day, which sucks. But I think it's almost good at the same time, though, that he was able to drive a familiar car and do as well as he did because it was familiar. But I'm not sure. I don't remember if I did talk to him about, like, if it did have nitrous and if it is like the full powered, essentially 2016 car, or if it was just a NAV VK motor. But whatever. Either way, he still performed well.
That car did have nitrous when Stoneback was running it. I think it was always a little underpowered compared to Forsberg's car. I think you kind of saw it too in the event.
Yeah. Which, yeah, we did see him just kind of. That's what I thought happened on the James Dean run. Initially, I thought that he was down on power, but it was just that.
Still sounds insane.
Yeah, still sounds nuts.
I'm gonna
miss
that VK.
So the question is, let's say he had a fully functional VQ twin turbo anti-lag motor. Do you think he would have done as well, or better, or worse?
Hard to say. I mean, I can't even remember him in a turbo car. I think the last time he was in a turbo car in Formula D was 2005.
With SR20 and a 350Z?
No, in 05 he was in the Falcon
S15.
S15. Because in 06 he basically had a VK 350Z with Sears Auto Center.
Yeah.
And then it's been some variation of the VK since. The good news is, last time he drove a turbo car in Formula D, he won. He set his car on fire and defeated Reese Hill in the Irwindale.
Oh, I remember.
If you guys... Yep, go ahead.
Oh, he has good standing, I guess, with turbos. I look at Chris as one of those drivers. I think that he's pretty adaptable. I think he'll kind of figure it out pretty quick. And
so funny insider stuff that I can't at least say is that I'm sure you saw on Instagram Chelsea driving Forsberg's car.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Really? So we're in the middle of shooting this show. I'm directing a show with Forsberg and our buddy Dylan, building a truck for Valvoline, and they need to do a test day like immediately to check out these motors and make sure the cars are shaken down and all that. And Forsberg just really obviously wants to be there for his car, but he had to ask Chelsea to drive his car and. I think you guys saw the footage, right? He posted a video of the audio and the sound and the nasty, crazy, the crazy sounds that car makes, and I cannot wait to see it debut finally because that car is going to be so nuts. And it seems like the biggest problem that they keep on having is too much power. They have so much power in that car that the issue is to make it less of a monster, which is kind of crazy thing that you think about in racing.
Yeah, I mean, Orlando, I don't think they need all that power. I think Atlanta's a horsepower track. So, I mean, if they can just keep the motor in one piece, I think it can be turned down quite a lot.
Yeah.
Still function for Orlando for sure.
They sure put all the pops and bangs on it. So
yeah, it does all the helicopter. No, it sounds like a helicopter. It's freaking nuts. What do you think about Orlando? Are you ready for that track to die?
I am. From what I understand, they signed a 3-year contract with them, and this is the 3rd year of that contract. I hate Orlando so much that I am flying into Orlando on Sunday night, and I am flying home Friday night just so I can watch the event in the comfort of my air-conditioned apartment.
Shit, that's hilarious.
The craziest thing is that in the last couple of weeks, I haven't heard a single, not even the people from Orlando, from Florida, have said a single positive thing about that track.
Really?
Everybody's like, I hate this track. I can't wait to go because I'm meeting all my buddies, blah, blah, blah. everybody's just saying that everybody hates this track.
I mean, it's similar, I guess, in size and level of prestige as maybe like Wall, but
This is not Homestead, right?
no, this is just like a little circle track thing in the middle of outside of Orlando, I should say. But Wall has like a feel and a vibe and a story, and I love Wall. Wall's being my favorite track. Orlando is my least favorite.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just so different.
Wall has an odd charm to it.
Yeah.
And I also think that just that area, New Jersey, is just like a very knowledgeable drift crowd. It gets a little rowdy. I think it's fun. Orlando, that track is even more run down than Wall. I mean, once again, I mentioned I was doing a little bit of spotting last year. We literally the spotters had to sit in the grandstand and they put some caution tape around, like.
Yeah, I remember that.
So
Stay away from this spotter. He's got rabies.
Yeah, so
Rabies.
it was like 3 feet in front of me, I had like, dudes vaping and throwing their Formula Drift umbrellas in the air. I was like, well, this isn't ideal. I also think the weather down there really doesn't help.
Well, yeah, as I say,
Obviously,
weather aside, it seems like everyone's least favorite track, and then you add the issues of the weather, and you have a fucking mess of hands.
Who were you spotting for, if you don't mind me asking?
Last year I spotted for Farouk from Long Beach to Orlando.
Okay. That's something we have to talk about too.
Yeah, what do you think of? I mean, very obviously, there's shit talkers out there, which I think is cool. But Farouk, I think, showed up with an incomplete car, and I think they probably shouldn't have tried to drive it. I think it should have maybe missed the round because the car was very obviously not finished.
Yeah, listen, I love the guy. I think he should have stayed in his 14. The last year, I think he learned a was progressing in the 14. I spotted for him for the first 3 rounds of the year. I don't think he had quite dialed in the 14, so I was pretty shocked myself when he said he was going to a BMW. It just doesn't seem like the
shake it all up when you're just finally getting the hang of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you look at the dudes, especially look at the guys that we've talked about today that are successful. Matt Kaufman all of a sudden just looks like the light switch came on, but he's also just driving a 240 that he's had for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Alex Hilbrun finished second place 3 times in a row. Well, he's driving the same BMW he's driven for 3 seasons. So
yeah.
I guess I just didn't, he might have his own reasons as his team or whatever, but to me, from the outside, it just didn't seem like there was any logical reason to step away from that platform.
Well, maybe at a certain point, he maybe thought it was the chassis was holding up, and he wanted to just come up with a new build. But I agree that maybe he should have just wait until at least the second round to come up with. So it definitely seemed rushed.
Yeah, which I think he purchased that BMW back in October. So once again, I don't know why it wasn't ready. And I think he's got a lot of access to testing. I mean, working over at Sonoma Raceway,
imagine it's parts.
I think if he just had the car built, testing wouldn't have been that much of an issue.
Yeah, imagine just parts, and you try to get parts that are partnered parts, and then those take a while sometimes, and who knows.
Something I mean we have to address, and I love Farouk. We provided him with rear panels, with replacement fiberglass panels.
Yeah,
but it as everybody saw, he added a 12-inch flare to the rear, but I don't know. I mean, it seems like he was gonna have a 4.5-inch spacer or something like that he didn't put on, which I don't get it, because I don't see what's so wrong. What takes so long into just putting spacers to at least make the wheels fit properly?
It's Long Beach, man. People show up and they forgot a part, or the part didn't come in time, or
no, he had him. He apparently he had the spacer. I did. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to talk to him, but that seemed to be the thing that just made it the worst, because you show up with an ultra wide car and the wheels are all tucked in. That right there already takes away all your street cred. It's
which, I mean, I get why he did try to throw down some laps to just make sponsors happy and save face or do whatever, but I wish he would have just said, here's the car, kind of throw some spaces on it, let it sit, and be like, it's not ready, it's not safe or something.
Hey,
but
even our own Corey Hosford, he just said, "Meet him right away. Hey, you know what? I'm not doing Florida.
I need a few years off. Then I'm gonna do one
round.
I'm gonna do one round and then see how that does. Maybe next year I'll do 2. But
it's. I think there's nothing wrong with just instead of doing that, instead of trying to rush it.
yeah. Because now I won't have a proper debut, unfortunately. But I hope that car ends up proper looking and sick looking.
I want to see him driving. I want to see him being the next eyebrow-raising,
eyebrow raising. Sure.
Eyebrowsing.
Yeah, you guys get it. Whatever.
So what do you think of Turk being on the podium again at Long Beach? Is this Turk's year finally?
I hope. You know what's so funny about Turk is if you look at his career trajectory, he gets so little respect for how well he has done consistently. And I think the only thing he hasn't done is actually win the championship. But if you look through the course of history, like he's finished twice more than once.
Yep.
He's been in the top 5 since pretty much he's shown up.
Yeah.
With the exception of, I think, the 1 year he kind of really had some team issues and I think problems that were kind of outside of him.
Yeah.
Even when he was like that little privateer kid in his 240, I mean, he did great. His Gardella years, I think, were amazing. Like they fell just short in that solstice of a championship twice. So, he's one of those guys who he's always there, but he's never not there. Just at the end, I think it could be his time. Once again, I think when you talk to people and you're like, oh yeah, Ryan Turk, he had a little bit of a not great year last year, but he still finished 9th.
Right.
And I just think he doesn't have that. He just lacks some of that, I think, respect of some of the other bigger name drivers. But I think he showed me, I think, very clearly in Long Beach that he's there. I mean, in Long Beach last year he was great, and then I think the car completely just fell apart. Like they almost got that diff swapped in 5 minutes.
Right. I remember that was heartbreaking last year at Long Beach, seeing the timer run out, not being able to finish it. But I think
I know that poor guy and his team in their white T-shirts and his white
looks like this year they wisened up and they're not using white T-shirts any longer. But he's for being one of the most recognizable names in drifting. I don't know the exact internet followers, and of course now post Ferrari car and all. Like, is he the most followed drifter? Mad Mike, I imagine, still might have more, but I don't know the exact numbers. But one of the most popular names, but no one really expects him to be a contender for some reason. But and I think it's because he's always like just behind, like he's 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th. But he is consistently killing it. It's just he needs that little extra reliability from his car. He needs that little extra whatever, because when he shows up and everything works, he wins. But
he was one of my he was one of my top 3 picks.
Yeah, I think I really want to see him win. I want to see Turk win so much. Except for, and here's. I don't know if maybe he's just angry at 3rd place, but his 3rd place trophy is still at Forsberg's house. he left it there after.
He left it on the kitchen table there.
Yeah, so it's still sitting. I've been at Forsberg's house all fucking week shooting this video, and I thought I was trying to think of fun things I could do with Turk's trophy, but I didn't pee in it.
I do remember at the pool party there were like flowers in it.
Yeah, he's been used as a vase. So I don't know if he's angry at 3rd place or if he's just Turk and he's too busy thinking about birds and bees and whatever Turk does. But yeah, I really hope that this year might be his year. I always want my buddy Forsberg to win. I always want to see Vaughn win because I'm on his team. But I think maybe my heart's with following that Turkey guy. Maybe this is going to be his time. And he won Orlando last year, or was that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
It's 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago when there was all the rain and craziness going on.
So we know that he can do well, I think, at any track. But I think if the car holds up, I'm trying to remember what happened in his battle at Long Beach this year. He was up against Dean, and was there any controversy, or was it just Dean beat him? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think he just lost.
Yeah.
I don't recall that. I don't recall anything happening on that run that, like, I took notes on or there was anything significant. But I don't. It wasn't like he. I think he just lost in what I would say was like a close battle. Like it's not like he was like annihilated. I think or anything like that.
None of that James Dean wiping the floor with everyone, which I guess in the bigger picture kind of did, but it wasn't like a very definite ass kicking. It was just a slightly better fought battle. Yeah, like all the people is like, you called it on your article and saying like everybody's on the train, on the hype train. Yeah, and I think we agreed on that. That the fact that James Dean, I mean, he's awesome. I think he's pretty good. He's definitely a contender. We agreed that Alex Hilbron also being an outsider, quite a contender. But there's quite a lot of other drivers that, and I mean, like for example, Odie. I think didn't he finish 4th? Yeah, I don't know where he finished. Check it out. He was right outside.
Odie finished 4th.
Odie, I mean, dude, he's back on the S14, the platform that he likes.
He qualified 8th, and Turk qualified 3rd. So there was no battle, which I kind of miss. I understand completely why they got rid of him in the show, but I would have loved to see an Odie Turk battle. Yeah. But I think Odie's also going to be one of those contenders. Like I think this year he's like, you know what? I was going to do my thing the way I know it. I know he gauged himself against the greatest in the last couple years. Which I'm happy to see him in the S14. Yeah. Because I think he drives better, and he is possibly in maybe the most veteran car in the series. Not the most, but I mean, he's definitely in a car that's been around for a while, and he should know how to drive that car pretty damn well at this point. So he should be a fighter. And it's also on a Falcon livery. And it's also on a good-looking body kit. Hey. What are your...
Yeah, I think Odie's biggest problem is that he just is too conservative of a driver.
Yeah. Do you think he needs to be more aggressive?
We need to get that guy angry.
I think he's just not... He's not willing to do... Like, here's a perfect example. I think... You look at him and James Dean watch some runs back to back. I think Odie has the talent to drive like that, but like Odie's not willing to like take the risk. Like I think he calculates it and he's like, well, I could do this in 75 times out of 100. It will work. Yeah. But those other 25, it's like not worth me messing up. Like he's too like he's not willing to like hit the wall. Yeah. Flying on somebody's door and like hitting. He's just.
Yeah, he never gets Odie unchained. It's always Odie slightly chained up. But if I see him in a battle against someone I want him to beat, and I think he's going to be conservative, I'm going to go at the starting line, I'm going to slap him in the face, call him a bitch, and see what happens.
I believe he went full wild beast on Texas once against Forsberg, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Odie. We've seen Beast Odie a couple times, and he's an incredible dude to watch. He's incredible to watch all the time, but like you said, he's usually somewhat reeled in.
That Texas event was also when he beat Osbo, right, for the first time?
I believe so.
If I recall. Yeah. Yeah, he was definitely in the zone that weekend.
Even Gerald called him, soft-spoken, but
something made him angry. Yeah. we gotta bring that back. So, all that being said now, before we get to our Instagram comments, let's get some predictions for the year. Let me hear your 1, 2, 3. And I know this is so hard to do with only one event done, but we have a general idea. Who's 1, 2, 3? At the end of our window.
I'm going to be real. I'm just going to go for like the crazy 1, 2, 3.
Let's hear it, man. I hope it comes true.
We'll see how the chips fall. I'm going Ryan Turk number 1.
Yes. Woo!
James Dean number 2.
Okay.
Matt Kaufman number 3.
Wow, damn, dude.
I like that. It seems very dual. Even though there's Forsberg, is not on the top 3 right there.
Yeah, where do you see Forsberg and Vaughn in that outcome?
I'll go Forsberg 4.
Where's Chelsea?
On Vaughn first.
Ooh. I'm going to go Vaughn 10th.
10th.
And Chelsea 5th.
I'll go Chelsea like 7th.
Chelsea above Vaughn though for the end of the year.
Yeah.
Damn it. Well. And I guess we have the whole show kind of reinforces why you think those are. But do you think this is gonna be Turk's year? Do you think James Dean is gonna be decided at Irwindale, or is it gonna be a definite Turk win? It's always decided at Irwindale, I guess. It's been a long time.
I hope it comes down to Turek and Dean in the final battle of Irwindale in the
to win the
winner of
final
championship. I won.
God, that'd be crazy.
Yeah,
all right, so
probably not realistic, but great.
So let's get into these wonderful Instagram questions. We've already got a real...
Internet's definitely been broken with the questions for JoJo.
Yeah, so for the Forest, first question on here. How come a damn Irish wins?
Well, because he hit the most people, got away with it, and drove the best.
Wow.
Some fire.
You
got one?
Well, actually, there's this user right here. Username is Chris Forsberg 64.
Oh, nice.
He left like 9 questions.
Did he really? God.
I kid you not.
All right, so let's go through them. Forsberg says, why does Arsenal suck so bad and Tottenham is so good?
I have a feeling that his brother-in-law wrote that question. I am unfortunately an Arsenal FC fan, not having a great year. If anyone's that curious, I think that Arsene Wenger should not be the manager anymore, and I don't really care to speak about Tottenham Hotspur.
Forsberg also asks, who are the Kings of North London?
Well, that would be Arsenal FC.
Forsberg also asks, why do you hate drifting so much?
It's an easy thing to hate and also an easy thing to love.
If Forsberg asks, if you like drifting, who would be your favorite driver?
Forsberg.
Oh, man. I've never actually really considered that. It's funny? For as much crap I think as I gave him on Wrecked, I actually think Daigo Saito was probably my favorite driver.
Really?
Well, before we go to the next Forsberg question, I have a question from Aaron Dookie.
Mm-hmm.
He says, do Joey Redmond and Joey Method Man still keep in touch?
We do not anymore, unfortunately.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's because Chris Forsberg 64 asked, why does Aaron Dookie ask such good questions?
There you
Jesus,
go.
Man.
Speaking of an Aaron Dookie, good question. Would you rather have dingers for fingers or a finger for a dinger?
I think you got that one.
I'm waiting.
I think a finger for a dinger.
Yeah.
Question from...
hold on. We should really talk about this for a minute because we're not on the halftime show anymore. We can really get deep into these important questions.
Why dinger?
Yeah, so I'm really trying to think about this. So if I had dingers for fingers, there's obviously a lot of uses to have 10 dingers. Yeah, it's really tough.
There is, but from a practicality standpoint, if you're going to have 10 dingers on your fingers, how are you going to pick stuff up?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is that having sensitive dick skin on your fingertips could be an issue throughout the day. And that is a quote pull for the show. Always looking for sponsors. And all right. Kay Shanahan says, "Damn it, Chris Forsberg! Why is Chris Forsberg bot spamming again?" Nice. Garrett Turbo 22 says, "Who is better at drifting, Americans or Japanese?"
I don't necessarily think one is better than the other. I think they're just very different styles. I think Americans Americanize drifting in a way that I think has made it unique. Obviously, I said Daigo is my favorite driver. I think the Japanese style has something to it, but I'm very disconnected from D1. I try and stay involved and relevant at times, but usually there's just as many people griping about D1's judges and everything. I think people are just removed from it.
They're a robot judge?
From that perspective. Yeah, I think there are probably a higher concentration of better drivers in Japan if you consider the number of drivers. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting, too. I went to Mitsuri 2 years ago, and I was talking to some of the guys there. Drifting is kind of on the decline over there. I think car culture just in general in Japan, I'm probably speaking out of school a little bit, but
we have heard that from.
It just seems like the younger generation in Japan isn't as car excited or car focused as before.
Right.
And it seems like the numbers are kind of been showing that with events.
Which is definitely a sad thing to hear, but it sounds. I understand why because there's just less focus on getting your license and having a car at age 15, 16, whenever it is there.
You know what's crazy? When I was at Long Beach, I was talking to one of the guys from Donut Media, and he asked me who was my favorite, or my top two favorite American drifters, and I said that one of my favorite American drifters was Daigo Saito.
There you go.
And I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's the one who made American drifting what it is today.
Man, go on. Sorry.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think Daigo Saito had the most impact in the least amount of time in Formula Drift history. If you just look at how everybody's cars are set up and what everyone's doing now, they're basically all just driving, versions of Daigo's car. So, I mean, I think for sure you can say he impacted the sport the most in America.
There you go.
You got one?
Yeah, it's a question pretty much from two different users. One is Jacob loves Stella. He says, when does Slide America 2 comes out? And then Blackhand Brandon says, if you could make another drifting documentary, would you? Slide America was the tits. Big old tits at that. Is there a Slide America coming?
Slide America will never happen again, unfortunately.
And what is Slide America for the fans?
So that was made with... It's been thrown around before, but all of us don't want to make another video together. And so since everyone that was involved in Slide America doesn't kind of want to do it, I think if something were to be done, it would be under a different name, I guess, so to speak. If you asked me 2 years ago, I would have said no, but I've actually been thinking about it again. It's interesting. When we made Slide America, we were kind of documenting what American drifting was like in its infancy. And now I think if I were to do it again, what I'd like to do is travel around the world and kind of document how drifting is different in all of these different countries.
Yeah, I like that idea. Hold on a sec. We have one from Chem Automag that says, if you could banish two drivers to an island, who would they be and what island would you banish them to?
I think I'm going to go with Frederick Osbo.
Bye, Osbo.
And I'm going to send him to Antarctica.
Ooh.
Oh.
That
seems like he's kind of island.
He was so cold. I think he was so cold to Kristoff at Long Beach. I think that, we're just going to send him somewhere that reflects his attitude. Ice cold.
And what's the other one?
I think I would pick Von Gittin Jr.
Oh. Put me out of a job. Cool.
And I would like to send him to Madagascar.
Oh.
And I think what we would do is basically send him with his whole program. And I think tell him that he is basically banished in Madagascar until he can find 100 people to purchase RTR Mustang.
So that's
that's
including Chelsea's Mustang, like his entire program.
He's just banished until
the whole thing. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty brutal, dude.
Like his Formula D car is his only mode of transportation he's allowed to use in the country of Madagascar.
That sounds like fun, actually.
All right, and then finally we have Tuned by Mr. Rogers saying, what are some changes you've seen in Formula Drift throughout the years that most people overlook? Good question.
Wait, was it... Whose question was that?
Tuned by Mr. Rogers.
Oh, I have the almost exact same question by...
Yeah, the two up from... Let's give credit to Mr. Fantastic. He says...
Fartastic. Which, by the way, hold on a second before we go there. Mr. Fartastic is the guy who made this pretty sick-ass 3D printed steering wheel center inserts.
Yeah, this nice gentleman came up to us at Long Beach and made us some 3D printed steering wheel inserts, which I'll definitely be putting in my newly built drift car. So thanks, buddy. But he actually says, what would you like to see change? So that's the thing, the follow-up. Let's start with what are some changes that you saw that are kind of that people have overlooked over the years?
You know what's interesting? I think the number one thing that has been overlooked is the Tony Angelo era as a judge. A lot of people cried about it. A lot of people pouted. But Tony Angelo, I give full credit to, is the one who ushered in the removal of, like, the over-technicalities of drifting.
Yeah.
If you remember, like, before Tony showed up in the first year Tony was a judge, like, everything was very much, like, exact. Like, everything had to be this very in the box. This happens, you get a 0.
Right. It was very strict
this
with these.
occurs. And it was like, it was to a point that it defied logic. The number one, I think, example that I always think of that is when we were at Palm Beach and they laid out those cones to because we were driving in like parking lot. And Forsberg's exhaust blew the cone. Forsberg
Now it was a 0. Didn't
exhaust
matter.
Blew the cone.
It didn't matter because the cone was knocked over. It was 0.
Yeah, and like, so, but that's like how Formula Drift used to be. Like, I don't think a lot of people have noticed that progressive change, but there was that time where it was just like, oh, you straightened, you get a 0. Oh, you've done this, you get a 0. And it was basically just like looking for ways to like discredit the run. Whereas I think Tony was really the one who put his foot down and was like, look, this is bullshit. Like, people want to just see people tandem. Like, if a guy straightens for a second but does the best run of his whole life, like, give him the chance to win.
Yeah.
And I think ever since then, that even though Tony has left, like, I think the judging has slowly moved that way. Like, they kind of eliminated more ways for there to be a 0 this year. And I think you've just slowly, each year, they've kind of chipped away at, like, the technical elements of the sport. And I think that's good because nobody cares about the technical aspects, you know, other than the nerds. I think to me, my like litmus test, I think Formula Drift needs to be if I can sit my girlfriend's mom or, you know, like one of my good friends, like brothers or sisters in front of the TV, they can watch a battle, not understanding drifting, and be able to say, oh, I think that person did better. Like, if they can get that right 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, I think Formula Drift is successful. I think it's silly to say, oh, this guy did great and he killed it, but he blew over a cone, so he now gets the 0 and he lost the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm very happy that change had occurred. I wasn't aware that was, at least in some degree, Tony driven, so that's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
I think there's a question of what I'd like to see changed. It just depends. Personally, I would like to see more tandem battles, less practice, less single runs. You know, I don't know if drivers would support that or whatever, but I think it would be cool if they could come up with a way to do a double elimination bracket, like winner bracket, loser bracket.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if the sport gets small enough, we'll just have a top 16 winner bracket, top 16 loser bracket.
Well, we talked about that recently with someone. Paco, who was that we talked about top 16 only? Was that Ryan Sage? Like, not as an actual thing they were planning on doing, but just the ramifications of if we just did a top 16 and you just had your 16 superstars, and then Pro 2 was a much more diverse thing, and they just had like your tight 16 that was the primary show.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I think Irish IDC, they do some kind of weird in between, like a top 24 or I know they don't do it. They don't do a top 32, but they also don't do a top 16.
Right.
I think it's something strange. So
we
there
just
are
talked to
ideas
them
out there. I just personally want to see more drivers drifting more.
Yeah.
You know, like if a guy loses who's really great, I'd like to see him try again and drive his way into the championship. And then there's some tandem battles I never want to see again.
Like what?
You know, one doesn't stand out to me at Long Beach that was just terrible, but nothing drives me crazier than a one more time that's resulted in
just a
two
boring
drivers
battle
being so poor that they can't pick a winner.
Yeah, that is rough when it's not because it was so good, but because both drivers spun on their own behalf on like their lead run separately, and then there's one more time because of it. Yeah, that is a bummer. But yeah, I would like to see more chaos. I'd like to see more driving, less downtime, and maybe Saturday is just back-to-back driving, and if you lose, you Yeah, I like the losers bracket idea, but we're always talking about ways to improve the sport, but it's tough with tires and money and teams and cars, and there's always 1,000 reasons why you can't change something. But I hope that something like that shows up someday.
Yeah, or just something else to consider is just like an open format qualifying, like an F1 style qualifying. I think would be fun too, where drivers just have an hour, 2 hours to make their passes. They stage up and they run, and then the judges kind of rank them as a collective of like all their laps.
Like dog show style, when they just wheel out a bunch of dogs and run them in a circle. And then, all right, that one's best in show. That one's the most hairy. This one is fucking annoying, but we'll let him in anyways.
Exactly. And I mean, there might even be interesting strategy where like a guy who I think like Forrest Wang, who's got all that great style, like if he was still around, he could come out and just do one pass and blow everyone away with that one pass.
Later I'm out.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then other guys like an Osbo might spend the whole, 2 hours doing 15 laps trying to get like that perfect run, and like maybe even let those guys go out during that qualifying session in tandem.
I can only imagine the strategies that would unfold for that style.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to me, you want to give people a reason to watch qualifying, and I don't really have a reason. Like I have a reason because I have to like know what happened.
Yeah.
But for an average fan, I don't think there's any call to action or reason to see qualifying.
Unless you're a total dork for the sport. But yeah, I mean, it is exciting to see the top qualifiers, run the walls like they do, because you might not see that during all of tandem battles. But yeah, I agree with you.
Not to mention, half the fans are at work while qualifying is going on, so everybody's just like on the internet, like, maybe kind of watching, kind of working.
Yeah. Well.
Yep.
What? Anything else before we send you into the night?
I don't think so. I'm probably going to write mean stuff about Chris Forsberg now in Orlando, so be ready, since he's talking smack about my soccer team. But
we're still not sure if it was really him or his brother-in-law.
Well, I guess
I think his brother-in-law was feeding him the question. He's probably upset because, I was making fun of his blown boners.
Oh, dang. The fire from Joey. Well, thank you so much for...
I have a question for you guys. Is that possible?
Please.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of them.
Absolutely not. Good night.
Okay. Who do you guys think will win FD Orlando?
Jeez.
I really hope I get this right. Let's hear yours first. You got one?
You have one?
Do you have one?
Or do you want us to say it first?
No, should we do on the count of three?
Okay.
Paco?
Yes, let's do this.
1, 2, 3, say it.
Pieter.
Oh, no.
Shit. God damn it.
I was trying to ask which we said it, so Paco thinks Pieter. Okay.
I think Pieter.
Wow, you're a fan. We got a fanboy crush on him. Do you like him?
I like that.
I think he's capable. He just needs to kind of get his concentrate his chi into this whole thing. And he's the only one who's defeated James Dean, and James Dean just came up from winning Long Beach. I think Peter's gonna show Dean a run for his money.
I think that if Forsberg's motor works, he's gonna win, and if not, then I would say Turk or Dean. I'm not sure which.
Or Chelsea. Or Vaughn.
I was thinking about Chelsea. No, but I mean, I think Turk has the power to run really well, the strength to do so. Obviously, we can't discount Dean, but I would really like to see a Forsberg comeback hero story of a motor that works, that kicks ass, and then he stomps everyone to the ground. But that's fanboy shit. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't really play in the prediction game very well.
Well, I mean, as you remember on our halftime show, even I had Forsberg next to me, and I told him I have more faith in you with a V8 than with a V6, because it's still gonna be like a new platform, and it's not like I doubt his driving. It's just everybody has to get used to the new.
My dream scenario is that motor works, and it's just gonna romp and sound insane, and he's gonna pass and beat everyone's ass in flying colors. But we shall see. That sounds like a dream scenario, but we'll see what occurs. But
what do you think?
Yeah, what are you gonna see?
I'm just going to pick Ryan Turk because that backs up my my championship prediction.
Yeah, there you go.
Going all in.
I think Turk's going to be on the podium.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, just saying.
After he pulls James Dean's fire suppressant and it makes his car not work.
Let's see about that.
Ah. All right, dude. Well, thank you so much for spending all this time nerding out with us. We shall see throughout the year if our predictions hold out, but we will be reading Wrecked as we recommend everyone else does, and check out Street Driven, where Joey and a bunch of the other big dudes drive their cars, have fun, and party, and apparently don't have shitty music like Grid Life. That's what Joey said. That's weird because we're probably going to be doing some hosting at Grid Life as well, so I guess you can go screw yourself.
Oh, man. Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks, man.
Thanks,
have
Joey.
a good night.
Good night, bro.
Bye.
Bye. Well, there it is.
Oh, what a jerk.
Wow.
No, he's a good.
No, yeah.
He's a good.
Dude,
He's a good, as you would say, Paco.
Hour and a half talking to him, and we could probably just keep
I know.
talking.
We could just kept talking, as always.
And hours.
And to be fair, Joey, we try to get like 3 other Formula Drift drivers on the show. Not instead of you, but with you, because we weren't, we love to talk to you for an hour, but we weren't sure if we would have enough to talk about. But of course, there's always enough to talk about when you've got a bunch of nerds talking about drifting.
Yeah.
But if you know James Dean, tell him to get a hold of us.
Yeah,
we try to get a hold of him.
So we already did the spam a lot technique.
We
where
spammed him. Yeah.
Everybody who's following us just spammed him, and he did reply.
Yeah, he did reply.
He said, "I would love to be in the show." I talked to him at the Pike.
Yeah.
Long Beach, and he said he would love to talk to us. He's just
You didn't get his digits, dude?
well, the screaming guy from Pike was kicking us all out.
Oh yeah. That's always fun over here.
Yeah, the screaming guy was a little like, "Get the hell out
They ring
of
the
here."
bell and they yell at you. And
Yeah, exactly. So I told him, like, I'm just going to hit you up on Instagram again.
Yeah.
And I could imagine he's a very, very busy man. So
it's always fun to
we're working
try
on
to
it.
talk to our Irish buddies because they are literally on the other side of the earth. But
Yeah.
and we're going to have in the very soon weeks, we're going to have some other contenders, let's just say, on the show.
And before we go, real quick, so we are, once again, we're partners with Vegas Drift.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, just happened yesterday.
Yeah.
And great news for us Arizona guys.
2 out of the 3 podium spots on Vegas Drift are AZ dudes.
So we send 6 Arizona guys, which out of those, 4 of them, 3 of them ended up 4th, 3rd, and 2nd.
Damn. All
Dooft, super Dooft drivers.
And I saw that they were bested by a dude in an Evo.
So, this is crazy. So, Andrew Schulte finished 4th. Austin Kriegel finished 3rd.
Phoenix Pro.
Nick Gross finished 2nd.
Phoenix Pro.
And Raz Nair, however.
Raz Al Ghul.
Raz Al Ghul with an LS3 powered Mitsubishi Evo.
Yeah.
He won, which apparently... I'm sorry, I've never heard of him, but he came up swinging.
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna talk to him,
I want to see that Evo in action because it can relive my Tokyo drifts. Sitting, if we could just sit on the side of the next event, if I'm in town or you're in town and all that, we could just sit in some chairs like on a dock with fishing poles.
There you go.
And shake our heads when it goes by.
You don't have a private V8. Oh, he's got a V8.
Hey.
We're gonna try to make it to Colorado. It's round 2.
Oh, cool.
But definitely gonna try to have him on the show. I'm not sure if next episode, but maybe in a couple.
Yeah, man.
But yep. Keep an eye on Vegas Drift / Southwest Drift. We are part of the official.
The only drift podcast that is on a banner on a wall in Vegas Drift.
Pretty much.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
And a couple more housekeeping things. Patreon dudes, thank you so much for keep on supporting the show. We are finally going to be getting out your Patreon gimme swag bags and all that stuff. Sorry, we had to order all the stuff and we've been sick and dying. So and you don't need our excuses, but that shit is coming. We promise.
Yeah, it's not an excuse, but it's more of an explanation. We thought we were gonna be able to just like order let's just get 5 of these. Oh, let's just get 20. No, it turns out we have to get
hundreds
a big amount of the prices were not our prices. They're
just a lot of logistics into it, and we're busy dudes. But don't you worry. Don't you worry. You will get your stuff. Thank you so much for your support thus far. And to those listening now that have too much money, head over to Patreon, Maximum Driftcast, or patreon.com/Maximum Driftcast. $1 a show helps us enormously. Anything helps us enormously. Maybe don't do anything at all though, because Paco's just gonna blow it on those little weird candies from the ice cream truck. What are the Lucas? Is it called Lucas? The salty
Lucas,
sour stuff.
Paleta.
Yep, that's right.
It's a spicy iced popsicle.
TMI, Paco. TMI. Well, that will wrap up the show. Corey will be back next week, no doubt, if he doesn't die. And
by the way, yeah, Corey's not here because, as you know, his best man.
He was sick, but he also went to Jensen Argyle's wedding.
Jensen Argyle is wed.
Is wed, and it is unfortunately not to Corey, which is weird. Corey was going to protest at the wedding.
I think that's what he wanted to do, but he didn't have the guts
but his
to
throat,
do it.
No, he had a frog. He couldn't talk. His throat is gone. But
one of the funny things I told Jensen himself is that because his wife is Mexican.
His wife.
Yep. Is Mexican, and I told him, hey, do you know why we keep stealing your jobs? Because you guys keep stealing our women.
Ooh. So
Paco
with the heater.
Shots fired, Jensen.
Well,
your turn.
Congratulations, Jensen, a.k.a. Crop Dustin, on your nuptials. And we will catch you on the internet.
And don't forget to follow Sam at Drift Idiot.
A.k.a. Big Hoss, a.k.a. the Apache. And Paco at tofuforlegs.org.
Yep.
No, tofudriftfan.org.
Yeah, I got it done.
And 2F Performance. Ask them for your free body kits, of course.
And don't forget to download Thumb Drift. Tag us. I'll send you the code to drift.
If you want to cry and maybe send your videos
Maximum Driftcast Hunivan.
If you want to record you crashing Paco's stupid van into the wall at full speed. Don't even try to drift. Just go into the wall, top speed.
Straight up into the wall.
Nosedive, the end.
Perfect.
The end.
You guys have a good night.